What's going on, everybody? Welcome to The Obsession. I'm Carl Bethke.
Mike Stadler here.
Mike,
Yes, sir.
let's talk a little bit about does property buck-to-doe ratios. We got a question here from Steve. Steve said, what is the best buck-to-doe ratio, and when shooting does, which ones do you guys shoot first? Old, young, which ones? How many does do you shoot for every buck? Huh. Well, there's a lot involved in that question.
Yeah, that's a lot of That's not one question. You lied to me.
Come on.
It's like 12 questions.
It's not my fault.
So I think,
It's Steve's fault.
this is probably one where, both of us have a little bit different opinions on some of it,
True.
actually. I'll say this best buck to doe ratio. I mean, really? Like in a perfect world, I'd like to have 2 bucks to 1 doe.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I mean, and that's my opinion. I want the competition.
Yeah.
Because that's the time I like to hunt them the most.
When they're aggressive and
Yeah.
I can call them in and rattle them.
I mean, that's
the funnest.
Yeah, that's personal to me. That's, is that...
Have you ever been in a buck-to-doe ratio where it's 2 to 1, Mike?
A couple times.
Kind of
It's
weird.
been close, yeah. Like when we had that lease, I think we had that a few times.
Yeah, but it's not like they're all big bucks, just so everybody knows.
No. Just bucks that are going to cause problems.
Right.
And get other ones cranked up. I'm not saying like 2 giants run around after you. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it would be great.
But, I mean, in a perfect world, I think a lot of people would say, yeah, because that's going to move them. They're going to move. They're going to be kicking each other around.
That's the biggest advantage right there. So a good buck-to-doe ratio causes deer movement. When you have deer movement, that gives you higher percentages of taking deer if you're smart and got everything set up right?
Yes, sir.
So, in southern Wisconsin, buck-to-doe ratios. I would say there is no place in southern Wisconsin where the buck-to-doe ratio is even 1 to 1, 2 to 1, 3 to 1. I'd say more like 5 or 6 to 1, right?
Yeah,
I would expect.
I think
and
so.
I'm talking does to every buck.
Yeah.
Now, deer biologists will argue that, and they'll tell you here's why. When does have twins, one's a buck, one's a doe. And that is pretty much true.
Mm-hmm.
It's also true in humans, in case people don't know that. What is it? 51% of the babies born to humans are girls, and 49% are boys. The same ratio is almost the same for every species on the planet. There's only a few species which are amphibians that can change their own sexes too, like frogs and shit like that. Okay, enough of that. But what I'm saying is, most buck-to-doe ratios here in southern Wisconsin, where we're talking about, I would say are that 4 or 5 to 1, maybe even worse in a lot of places, and you'll see that. As for taking of the doe, so I'm a firm believer. If I take a buck off my property, we want to try and take at least 2 does off my property. 3 or 4 would probably be good, I think. Mike's place can be a little bit different, although it's probably pretty close to the same.
It is
currently.
Yeah.
Your neighbors are a little closer, and they seem to help.
They do. They
So,
take those.
It makes it easier for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's... the biggest thing is, right now, yesterday, I watched 6 doe come out of my corn together. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go. I'm like, everybody's like, oh, it's pretty cool. It's not cool. Because if there's 6 right there, we're going to have a dozen of them here again.
Well, there's probably 6 more.
Yeah, and I don't want them. I don't want a dozen of them things here. They eat too much.
Yeah.
And, like we've talked about before, those mature doe, especially those real old monarchs, kick those bucks out of properties.
Yeah, you have one in particular.
Yeah, she needs to die. God, I can't kill her. She is brutal, and that kind of goes to which ones you want to take. I think it's kind of it really is a horse apiece, I think. Carl will take a younger one. He'll take a doe fawn.
Yep.
Doe
Fawn.
I try to shoot. I got a couple big monarch ones that I really want to kill that I haven't been able to do. I like to wait sometimes too much. I always see that straggler behind, when in the early season when the does are together yet.
Yep.
That's the ones I want either because to me it tells me they're not a breeder.
Yeah, they're usually an older
most
class
likely.
anyway.
So I want to kill. That's the ones I try to kill.
Yeah.
But we both try to kill them early.
Yeah. So for us, honest truth is, first 2 weeks of bow season, maybe even the first 4 weeks of bow season, we're just doe hunting. Mm-hmm. If a buck comes in, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. Right buck comes in, we're going to shoot it.
Right.
But in general, we're hunting observation spots or transition to food that we know the does are using.
Edges.
Yeah.
Outside edges of our properties.
Yeah, we're trying not to educate the deer. And that's kind of how we go about doing it. Like Mike said, for me, age group wise, I will shoot a doe fawn before I'll shoot like a 2.5 or 3.5 year old doe. A doe I know is going to produce fawns, which may not be the smartest thing in the world. But to me, food is king. A mouth is a mouth. They always eat, and they eat basically the same amount. Just because the deer's bigger doesn't mean it's always going to eat more food. Mm-hmm. As of late, the does I've taken off my property are usually that 1.5 to 3.5, 4.5 year old does. Like you, I have some monarch does that if I maybe wait a little bit longer, I'd be able to. They'd come in and I could shoot one.
Right.
You know what I'm saying there, but a doe is a doe, and I think you should take them out. I'm a firm believer in taking out in my area 2 does for every buck we shoot off the property, if not 3.
Yeah, and we've always tried to do that. Whether it happens or not is another thing, but we try to do that. But I think the ratios again come to what we talk about all the time about managing your own property,
right,
and really seeing what you have. Like I said earlier, if I have 12 does here, we got to kill half of them. Mm-hmm. And that would be myself and Carl. And if I have to bring somebody else in here, that's what we're going to do, because I don't want the bucks pushed off the property.
Yeah.
And I want them roaming around looking. You can't make it easy for them to find a doe.
Right. Here's a real good example of that. Why don't you tell them? That first night you sat down at my land last year, how many does did you see physically from the stand that night?
16, I think it was.
16 that you seen.
Yeah, and that was not doubles.
No.
That was different locations. A lot of them stayed in the same spots.
Right.
Went different directions. So,
yeah, he could see a lot of space.
Yeah, I could see you can see a lot from where I sat. And there were 16 of them, and of course, none of them gave me a good shot.
Right.
To kill them.
Yeah, they were always away. And then I seen 6 that night, and I was on the other side of the property, around the bend from you. So what is that? 22?
Yeah, it's only 22.
22 on 72 acres. How many bucks you see?
None.
And how many bucks did I see?
One.
That's it. A little year and a half old.
Yeah.
So that ratio is a little bit messed up.
Yeah.
Now here's the problem.
Might be tail off.
Yeah, that tells me number one, I had too much summer food. The does were all there, or they were moving into there because of the good fall food, which could have been coming off the neighbors and everything, which was fine. We did have good bucks on the property, but we didn't have as many, which tells me that my mistake there was the food issue, which we are addressing this year. Yes. So there's always things you can do, but taking of does is one of them. And age group to me doesn't matter. Age group to Mike is a little bit different.
Yeah, either way it works.
Correct.
I mean, again, it comes down to, where are you hunting? What are you trying to do? Is it a property you can kind of try to control a little bit? That's a big thing.
Yeah. What are your neighbors like? My neighbor to my west does not shoot does at all.
Yeah.
Yells and screams, tells me I shouldn't be shooting does.
Yeah.
And we got how many on the property?
Yeah. See, in here, 2 of my neighbors shoot does.
Yep.
So I factor that in.
Yeah, you have
to what I'm going to take. And we had a few shot last year. We had a couple get hit on the road.
Yep.
So I kind of factor that. Now I've been seeing, but what I've been seeing again now tells me we're going to have too many.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
because they're roaming this whole area.
Yep.
Oh, and you want the bucks, obviously. So, but early has always been ours. I see people shoot them late. I am not a proponent of that. I don't like it. I won't never do it myself.
Yeah, I don't do it either.
So, and at that
My
point,
brother-in-law's the exact opposite
Right.
of us. He doesn't shoot does early, and he shoots them late season.
right? And a lot of people do.
Yeah.
I don't. Carl doesn't.
No.
So I, in my opinion, they're already bred at that point.
I think it's whatever you think you have to do to keep your ratio as close to whatever number you want to set on your own property. Remember, smaller properties, you can't tell me you're going to have 15 does on a 40-acre piece and then expect to have big bucks staying, because they're not going to.
Yeah.
I mean, we've proven that multiple times. My property last year, even Mike's.
Mine last year too. We lost all those deer went away for quite some time.
They did, and it was a prime time. They just started to come back in, and then we were done.
Yep.
But yeah, don't get that idea that having a lot of does on your property is going to make you successful on a big buck. That is my opinion, the wrong way to think.
Yeah. You do need does for bucks, yes,
Correct.
but you don't want too many of them.
No, you want them to move. I remember down there at one place, my brother-in-law's place years back when Mike and I first started hunting together, that I filmed, I don't know, it was, I think the one bachelor group, there was 6 or 8 bucks that were 3.5 to 6.5 years old. And there were so many, this is before, or right during the CWD stuff here in southern Wisconsin. There were so many does on the property, we had almost no rubs, no scrapes.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, no competition.
Nope.
Everybody gets a prize.
Yeah.
The deer that year.
That was a bad thing.
Yeah.
So, well, that's the end of that one.
Right.
Which does to take, when to take them, those are our opinions on it. Appreciate the question. If you guys get a chance, subscribe to the channel right down here in the lower right-hand corner. Just hit the Reaper.
Hit the Reaper.
Hit the Reaper, baby.
Check us out.
Listen to us on our podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeart Podcasts.
RSS.com.
All under The Obsession Podcast. Make sure you guys put the Obsession Podcast in there. All 3 words. We appreciate you guys listening.
Yep. Later.